And we're
Right.
off.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the land, not a podcast host rested, mic cables in hand. The jumpers were itchy, the script slightly thin, as we scraped festive crimes from the internet bin. So pour out a drink or stick the kettle on now. Lower your standards. We've done that somehow. It's lighter than usual, but still true crime lore. Merry Christmas, dear listener. Enjoy Bad Santas galore. Now, Adam is shaking his head. When I wrote this script, I had in mind his reaction, which I knew would be exactly as I am seeing right now. A disappointed look, like a father would look at a disappointed son. I mean, age-wise, he could be my dad. And then he's shaking his head. And what I'm most disappointed about, Adam, before we go into the further introduction, is that I am wearing my Christmas jumper and Santa hat, and you are wearing just a pink polo shirt.
Stuart, I'm sitting here looking at you, dressed in your Christmas garb, reading. So I use the term poetry loosely. Would you describe it as poetry?
I mean, it rhymes, and poems don't even have to rhyme. But regardless, welcome everyone to a very festive edition of True Crime Catch Up. I'm Stuart Blues from British Murders. The voice you've heard is Adam Lloyd from UK True Crime.
Hello.
And every week we dive into what's happening in the world of true crime, from the biggest headlines to the stranger stories you might have missed. Make sure you follow the show wherever you're listening, hit subscribe on YouTube, and if you enjoy what we're doing, please leave us a quick rating or review. It really helps people find the show, and it doesn't cost you a penny. I love that. I'll always say that I love that. Adam, Bad Santas. Have you seen the movie, by the way? I know that's a daft question to ask you.
You know
I'm
I haven't
assuming
seen the movie.
You haven't seen
I
Bad
haven't
Santa.
seen it.
Okay.
No. Is it good?
Very, very popular film. It's very funny. Yes, it's very funny.
Is Hugh Grant in it as a foppish?
He's not, no. Your favourite actor isn't in it,
Yeah.
unfortunately. It's Billy Bob Thornton is the lead. But yeah, let's get into this, mother.
Okay, so as this episode is landing on Christmas Eve, we thought we'd do something a bit different. And I think it's fair to say from that opening, Stuart certainly has delivered.
You could tell
But
that I
this is-
wrote this one.
Oh dear, I don't know what this is going to be, but after racking our brains for what that's worth, we decided to have a look at what we're calling Bad Santa crimes. Bungling criminals who don festive outfits like Stuart's and use the festive season to commit some mainly daft but also horrific crimes, in Stuart's case, against poetry. Anyway, Stuart.
And fashion, as it were.
Oh, fashion, yeah.
But before we get into our first story, we want to provide, and this is serious, an update on the Paul Doyle case, as we promised to do in last week's episode. So Paul Doyle recently pleaded guilty to a multitude of charges relating to the Liverpool FC Premier League victory parade, I find that really hard to say, back in May of this year, as discussed in our December 3rd episode. So when we recorded last week, his sentencing was taking place on the 15th and 16th of December, Monday and Tuesday. So here is the update we can finally give you, just in case you missed it or you felt like you needed that bit of closure. So I looked on the law pages. This is a site you can look when people get charged. Their official charge list is on there, their parole eligibility date, all this stuff is on the law pages. Here are the offences, Adam. So 12 counts of unlawfully and maliciously wounding or causing grievous bodily harm with intent. 17 counts of attempted wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. 1 count of dangerous driving. 1 count of causing a fray. For all that, Doyle received a custodial sentence of 21 years and 6 months and was also disqualified from driving for 16 years and 10 months. Now, he's not going to serve the full 21. It's not a minimum term because it's not a life sentence. So his parole eligibility date is January 1st, 2039. I mean, my maths isn't great, but that's not 21 years in the future, right? We did ask our ever-growing Facebook group their thoughts on that sentence. I thought the results to this were rather interesting, to be honest.
I was surprised. Yeah, really surprised.
Yeah. 37% said they felt it was the right sentence. 21% thought it was too harsh. 28% thought it was too lenient. So that was the second highest. And 14% were unsure. So where do you stand on this, Adam, with his sentence?
Look, before I get to that, I do find it interesting how our tabloids over the last few days have been dragging up all the stories about his past. You'd have read this too, Shirt. There's a story of him dragging someone out of a go-kart and he accelerated down the wrong lane in Milan or something as well. But On a similar subject, I've been uncomfortable this week with the treatment of David. Is it Walliams? Is that how you pronounce it?
Walliams, yeah.
Walliams. Okay. Look, I'm no fan of his. I don't find him the slightest bit funny. I never have done. And if he's behaved badly, he deserves all he gets, right? I'm not saying he doesn't. But so far, I'm unsure of just what the evidence is against him. I don't think there's any evidence against him. And I caught LBC Breakfast Show yesterday, Nick Ferrari. I usually like that programme. But there were people, he was asking people to call up, giving their experiences of working with David Williams over the years. And none were positive, of course, but someone like saying when he was 18, he was in the same theatre group and stuff. But I just feel a bit uncomfortable with that when he hasn't at the moment been charged with anything. Unlike Doyle, of course. And going back to Doyle, my view, I think the sentence was too harsh. I just don't get the point of giving him over 20 years. But I do appreciate I'm very much in the minority here. What do you think, Stuart?
Yeah, I remember when you told me the sentence. I think you texted me and you said what it was, and I was shocked. And I think, to be honest, most people, if they look in the heart of hearts, they probably were shocked at the length of his sentence. Now, bearing in mind how many people were there that day, the age range of people, I think the youngest was maybe 8, I think we said on our episode, the oldest being in the 70s. So, there's kids there. And I think the big revelation has come on the back of this dash cam footage. And you can actually listen to some of this online. The footage is blurred, but you can hear. And it's the road rage thing we talked about when someone's in the way, get out the effing way and all this, move, and all this. People argue that he didn't kill anyone, but the intent was there. Maybe not necessarily to kill people, I don't know, but to certainly, what you're doing if you're driving into a crowd of people, right? You're not playing a video game here.
Yeah.
But 21 years did shock me. It's hard to say whether I think that's too harsh. I guess my initial reaction leads to me thinking it is too harsh. However, my only reasoning for that is that the amount of stories I've covered, I'm sure you've covered, of people who murder people but then plead guilty to manslaughter for diminished responsibility when it looks pretty much like murder to me. They might get 10 or 12 years, and that's for intentionally really taking a life. Technically, it's because they were, all there. It just comes back to the sentencing, the wide variation of sentences in this country. What's to say if it was a different judge who had a better morning, he would have got a lesser sentence. We spoke about if a judge wakes up and has a bad day, if you get rid of juries, is it going to be different? I don't know. Ask anyone that was there, anyone from Liverpool, and I'm sure they would say he deserves more.
Yeah.
I can only go with my gut feeling is that when I heard that, I thought, wow, that's a long time. That was just my gut feeling at the time.
Me too. To me, I'd have thought more like 12, 14 years. But the one powerful argument that a lot of people have used with me is, if it was your children, would you still feel the same way? And that's quite a hard argument to go against, isn't it?
Of course. If you were one of the people that he hit or nearly hit, you'd want to throw the book at them, right? Completely understand that.
And if you'd been there, I imagine just the horror of actually being there, the sounds, the screaming, the fear of being mass casualties. It's really difficult. But what we want you to do, as we always want you to do, please get in touch and let us know your thoughts on Doyle's sentence or actually anything we discussed today. And the best way probably to do so is to join our Facebook group. But look, let's now move on to what we're here for. Bad Santa stories. And the first, Stuart, comes not too far away from you, just over the Pennines, Alfreton in Derbyshire. And it was there in December 2015, just 6 days before Christmas, that a man dressed head to toe in Santa gear, he was wearing literally the whole suit, with the exception of a beard. Now, he took it upon himself to climb through a KFC drive-through window, and he robbed it at knife point. It was quite late, about 10:30 p.m. He reportedly threatened staff and demanded money before fleeing with some cash. Now, before I ask you what you make of that, Stuart, are you a big KFC fan?
Now, KFC. I don't mind a KFC. My missus loves a KFC.
Really?
Yeah. Now, it's not something I would get as a takeaway meal on a weekend. It's like, do you ever... you probably have your own chef, but for us laymen, we like a takeaway on a weekend, and sometimes the crazy idea of a KFC or a McDonald's or a fish and chips gets thrown in the mix, and I think, why would you waste a takeaway on a meal such as that? I'm not opposed to KFC, but if I was in a shopping mall at the food court and there was a load of different places, I probably wouldn't choose it.
Well, as a vegetarian, you can imagine it's probably not my first choice of takeaway. But I just don't get it. The few times I have been in there in the past, I don't get it. And this whole marketing about was he the Colonel? What is he?
Colonel Sanders, yeah. Colonel
Yeah.
Sanders.
Yeah.
And he's not a character, he created it.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, every day is a school day with your shirt, isn't it?
He's not like Ronald McDonald.
But isn't it a strange target for this guy to pick, isn't it? A KFC?
Well, I think so. I mean, nowadays, especially places like that, because he robbed the drive-through. He jumps. There's actually footage of it. It's not funny. I'm sure it's traumatic for the people that were working, but he jumps through this drive-through window, which isn't. It's very uncouth. And I just think the amount of people that pay on card or contactless nowadays. I know this was 10 years ago, but even then, how much cash can you expect to get from anywhere these days? There's that many places that have a sticker on the window. Sometimes it's crudely handwritten that says no cash. Now, whether that's a deterrent or they actually don't accept cash, I don't know. But, I mean, he can't have got more than, I don't know, 50 quid. There's not much follow-up on this story, I don't think, which is a bit frustrating. But it made me laugh why he didn't wear a beard. Because surely the beard is like a mask. It covers up your face, right?
Yeah, and I know you're a big fan of beards, Stuart. I'm sitting here looking at your beard, and based on our conversation before we started recording, we were talking about grey hair on certain parts of the body, in particular a beard. Just in a couple of years, Stuart, you can just be a natural Santa, couldn't you? You could be a children's school.
Silver fox, yeah, I could be, yeah, I think so. But I was just saying to Adam that despite my age, which is past 35 now, I'm heading towards 40. I'm the wrong side of 35.
Hold on. Not in your 20s like somebody thought the other week.
Yeah, someone thought I was in my 20s. I mean, most people that listen to my show think I'm 50 plus. And I say, no, that's Adam. So, this, someone thought I was 20 odd. My skincare routine, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And again, if no one's requested it yet, but if anyone wants to hear it, I'm happy to talk about it on a future episode. But yeah, I've been quite lucky with the old grey hairs, especially on the beard.
Stuart, I don't really want to talk about hair. Can we move on to the next story, please?
Okay, sorry, I know it's a sore subject for you. We'll jump north of the border, shall we?
Yeah.
To our friends up in Bonnie, Scotland. So I've got some statistics here regarding these so-called bad Santas up there. Did you know that Scottish Santas are supposedly better behaved than their counterparts down here in England?
Wow.
You're a resident of Bonnie Old Scotland. Does that surprise you at all?
I can't say it's something I've considered at length. Have you?
Well, no, but I mean, based on what you've seen out and about, the few times you go out and about, are you surprised that, Scottish better behaved than England? Would you expect it the other way around?
I'd fully expect it. Okay. People here, exemplary behaviour.
They're not going to kick you out just yet then?
No, not yet.
So here's a report from December 2024. It revealed that police officers picked up just 2 suspects dressed as jolly old Saint Nick in Scotland for theft-related charges in 2021 and 2022. It's not a bad return. Compare that to England, and officers in just Essex said they had received more than 400 calls reporting bad Santas between 2021 and 2024. So the same sort of, I know that was the 2-year period, this 3-year period here. Now, it wasn't just petty theft, that included firearms offences. So, I mean, what do you think it is about this festive season that pushes, whether it's would-be criminals or experienced criminals, to don the famous red outfit, which apparently was officially green, and commit crimes? Did you know that, by the way, about the greenness?
Another fact.
No.
Is it because people are just more relaxed, jovial this time of year, letting their guards down? Everyone's just a bit more relaxed. Do you think that's got anything to do with it?
I think so. I mean, I wonder how many not shoplifting, pickpocketing offences. You know, at
Mm,
Christmas markets and stuff, people are out
yeah,
and about, willing to spend money. They're not really paying attention. Everyone's happy. I think the main thing about theft, which is the most common offence, is that everyone's houses are full of presents,
yeah.
many of which are going to be, no doubt expensive to some degree. I mean, the main thing is it's a given, isn't it? It's sort of a quick win. Dress as
Oh,
Santa. No one's going
I,
to think you look out of place, and you're covered head to toe in an outfit that hundreds of people wear up and down the country.
yeah, and that's the thing that troubles me the most. Every year we read, don't we? We hear about burglaries that take place this time of year. There's always one or two when it seems that the family are out at midnight mass or something, and that's a
Yeah.
time when they're targeted. But especially for me, when we've read it so many times, when all the children's presents are stolen, it's not just once, is it, for us to see this happen every year? But just Christmas aside, touch wood. So far in my life, I've never been burgled. Um, but being burgled must just be the worst feeling. We talk about it a lot in our podcast, don't we? About the one place meant to be your sanctuary is your home, and it being invaded by a stranger. Oh, I just don't like it at all. Have you had much experience of burglary, Stuart?
I haven't personally, but I know someone that has been burgled, and it really is traumatizing. It's quite a disturbing thing. I mean, so this actually came on the back of this person getting some work done on the house. And you know how it is if you get people to either come in and put scaffolding up, they normally
Mm,
subcontract that to another team.
mm,
So it turns out that these two lads were a bit scallywags, if you like. I can't remember if they were doing scaffolding or something, building work on the house. But what they'd done is because this occupant was just one person, I guess classed as vulnerable due to age, but they knew what this person's routine was.
yeah,
So they'd been watching while they were working, watching. Sometimes if you go in and have a brew, you can have a look around and see what's there, right?
yeah.
So they waited until they're out one day and they robbed the place. So, what can you do when you're already vulnerable? So, I mean, now there's CCTV installed, the locks have changed, there's more security measures added, but when it happens to someone that you know really close, it's sort of, it makes it real then. It's not just a story.
No, and it's so distressing, isn't it? And the thing with house burglars, as you know, is they seldom rob a single house. It amazes me that they do so many at a time, sometimes even in the same evening. Um, One such criminal that really struck me was back to Christmas was 21-year-old David Ashton. He went on this robbing spree during the Christmas of 2020. He first broke into a house in Poynton, Cheshire, where one of my first serious girlfriends lived, by the way.
Oh,
On November,
okay.
yeah, I know. There's a story. I met her in France after A levels. There we go.
Oui,
So,
oui.
yeah, this is November the 30th that year. While the occupants were asleep, and they took the keys to their Audi, which was parked outside. After stealing the car, he returned to Cheshire on December the 27th when he broke into another house, this time in nearby Grappan Hall, and he stole a handbag that again had keys inside as well as bank cards. He then drove off in a stolen Ford Focus. He headed towards Wilmslow. He seemingly crossed the whole county when he was spotted by an alert officer around 11:30 p.m. that same night. Again, we can't emphasize this enough. I know I go on about this. Alert police officers out in the community doing their job. They do such a great job, I think. We just need more
Mhm.
of them out in the community. But
Yeah.
anyway, Ashton abandoned this vehicle. He broke into another house, stole the keys to another car, BMW this time. He stepped up, once more drove off, and he was finally arrested and charged after Greater Manchester Police stopped him in a Vauxhall Corsa. That's what.
Step down.
Yes, stepped down.
That's my
And
car.
oh, is it really?
Yeah.
And that's the fourth car he'd stolen. Have you got low wheels and things? Have you souped it up?
Oh, absolutely not. It's quite a low-lying car as it is, but yeah, I'm not into cars at all.
No,
At all.
nor am
If it
I.
gets me from A to B, that's happy enough for me.
Have you got a dodgy air freshener in it?
No, I don't think so. What's a dodgy air freshener?
Well, you see people when they first pass their tests, don't they? They lower it, they get a new music system in, and they have some sort of air freshener and loads of sort of, not the dice, but stuff hanging up on the mirror.
When I bought my last car, not this one, I didn't plan on buying it. Bit of a
Mm.
tangent here, but the guy said, what do you look for in a car? And I said, can I plug my phone? This is before Bluetooth. I said, can I plug
Yeah.
my phone into it to play music? He said, yes. I said, I'll take it.
Hmm.
That's all I looked
We're the
for.
same. We're
Yeah.
absolutely the same. Yeah. And people say they bought a new car, and I ask them things like, "Oh, what color is it?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't care. But look, let's go back to the car thief here. What did he do in the end? He pleaded guilty to 3 counts of burglary, 2 counts of theft. In fact, he got 3 years and 9 months in a young offenders institution. That sounds a pretty strong sentence to me, don't you think, Stuart?
Strong. I think that's quite lenient. See, this is the difference in opinion, you see.
Yeah.
I think he's committed a real spate of crimes there.
Hmm.
What's the count at? Maybe 4 houses, maybe 4
Yeah.
cars. I know he's nicked. I mean, I know he's sort of joyriding and he's a young lad and a couple of bank cards. I get that he's not really done that much, but I would have thought maybe 5-6 years for that.
But what is it going to do? It's going to give him a short, sharp shock and all this sort of stuff, right? But is he a danger to your family, my family, and our listeners' families?
Yeah.
Don't you
Is
think he's...
a danger in the fact that, because danger is a subjective term, right? I'm not just talking a life-threatening danger. There's other types of danger. But your house is at risk of being robbed. Your car is at risk of being stolen. Your identity, your money is at risk of being stolen. Not only that, if he's joyriding these cars, it puts other drivers at risk. Pedestrians. I think he's a risk. But you've got to think as well, if he gets 6 years and he's a good boy, he'll do 3 anyway. My concern with sentences when it's not a life minimum is that they only serve half, or 40%, I think it even is now. So if he gets 3 years, he's out in a year and a half. If you want him to serve 3 years, I don't get that about the custodial sentences. If someone could explain to me why that is, why when you give someone a sentence do they only serve half? What's that about? Why not just give them that and make them serve it?
Yeah, I do agree.
I don't get it.
Do you feel particularly strongly about this because there's a Vauxhall Corsa involved, Stuart?
Yes. To be honest, no. I think it's one of those crimes that really winds me up because I think the gall of someone to rob someone's house, which, as you said, is their sanctuary, their place of comfort. And it's just the feeling of intrusion. It's just awful. I hate stuff like that. But yeah.
I do, but I suppose I just checked his age again. He was 21. But these young detention centres are just hellish. And unfortunately, every year we hear about people that have taken their own lives there. It just worries me sometimes that we almost set people up for failure by sending them there. If he'd attacked somebody, if he'd hurt somebody, I'm fully in favour. Yeah, let's get them inside so we're safe from them. But I think for what he's going to be there in reality, 18 months, 2 years?
Yeah, but if he did your way and he did, say, community service, unpaid hours, 200 hours, would he learn a lesson from that? Or would he just think, this is a bit frustrating, but I'll just rob another car when I get out?
I'd double the sentence. I'd give him double the sentence and I'd have him working 6 days a week, 8 till 6, picking up chewing gum, picking up litter for the first year.
But then let's say he doesn't turn up. Then what?
Then he knows that he will then have to go inside if he doesn't do as he's given the opportunity. And then
I don't get why did he go to a young offenders anyway? 21.
Yeah,
I know they sort of go up. They go up to that age, I think. Some of them, but
I'm not sure.
It should be in general population, really.
Imagine that though, at 21. I know.
But end of the day, Adam, it's not like he was drunk or he was on a dare and he's robbed one house and he's given it back. He's done it. This was between end of November, and I think maybe January or late December, early January. You know, that's a lot of time to sit back and think, actually, should I be doing this? It's not like one night of madness.
No.
I think it's justified. Prison. That's what it's for. It's punishment.
Well, what is it? I mean, that's another question, isn't it?
It should be, really in theory.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to know what our listeners think. Am I just being a lily-livered liberal? Is that what you say? Or is Stuart is Stuart just gone really authoritarian at Christmas? Happy Christmas to you too, Stuart.
Happy Christmas, people. So let's move on to our fourth Bad Santa story with that. That's as good a segue as I could come up with. And you start to get the picture that these crimes committed, they tend to follow a similar pattern, right? So we're going to hop across the Irish Sea now into Belfast. where a 35-year-old, and this is where the sentences, the crimes committed are starting to get a little bit darker, kind of. So a 35-year-old father of 5 was handed a suspended sentence in February this year, 2025, after he was thankfully caught before committing theft in the early hours of Christmas Day 2024. Check this out. So on his person, George Kincaid had a bag. Any mass murderer would have been happy with what he had in this bag, let me tell you. Talk about a murder kit. He had a torch, a penknife, a screwdriver, gloves, a wrench, a multi-tool, pliers, and a canister of petrol. Can you imagine the devastation he may have committed had he not been caught?
Oh, it's horrendous, isn't it? Absolutely horrendous.
I mean, a canister of petrol. I read that and I was like, oh my God. Now, he gave no explanation for having those tools on him, obviously. Instead, when he was arrested, he decided to, and we see this all the time, direct expletives and derogatory comments at the female officer who arrested him. How big of him? But under cross-examination from a prosecutor, he claimed the tools were... This is funny. The tools were either for use on... So they were either for, according to him, use on his own bike, or he'd brought them from his grandmother's garage where he'd been building Christmas presents for his children.
Oh dear. And just briefly, what a great role model he is for his children, don't you think?
I mean, I'm concerned what presents he was building that contained petrol, you know? That's a
petrol
bit of a
lawnmower for your average 6-year-old.
Okay, maybe. But as you and I don't, District Judge Neil Broderick didn't believe that story for obvious reasons. They handed the aforementioned sentence for a single... Did I say the sentence?
No.
Suspended sentence, that's what it was. So he handed the suspended sentence for a single offence of going equipped for theft or burglary. Now, this opens up a bit of a debate about sentencing for intent versus action. Because technically, Kincaid did nothing wrong, apart from have a few sus items in his bag. But he had the intention, so said the prosecution, to do something potentially pretty heinous. Because he didn't do anything, this again comes back to the LNER stabbing where the guy goes into the barbers, they call the police, they say, is anyone hurt? No, well, we're not going to come out then. Nothing happened. Do you think suspended sentence is the right call in that instance for him?
No, I think it's a more serious crime than the guy stealing cars. Absolutely.
Really?
First, he's older, he's more mature, he should know better. And secondly, he's clearly a danger. And thirdly, to me, what's the whole? We've discussed this so many times. What is the point of? Well, what's the point of many things, like what you're wearing, for example, shirt. But also, what's the point of the police, the justice system, everything else? We don't want them just to react to crime, do we? I want them to be stopping people like him and from committing crime. That's what I want. I don't want any crimes to be committed, do you? I want them to be stopped.
Preventative action instead
Absolutely.
of
What
reactive.
do you think?
Yeah. I mean, legally, again, you've got the argument of technically no crime was committed. Really? In that instance, what are you in prison for? I had a bag full of weird stuff.
How long? Well, you say a bag full of weird stuff. How long ago was this? Do you recall?
It was February this year he was sentenced.
Well,
but Christmas Day 2024 was when he was out with this bag.
Yeah. I think it'll be very interesting over the years ahead to see if he troubles the courts again, don't you?
Yeah, certainly. We'll see if it works or if he, next time maybe he'll be successful.
Maybe in 6 or 7 years, Stuart, when we're doing the Christmas edition of this, as it's top of the charts, the rest is true crime catch up. Did you see that? Did you see that thing from in the Private Eye annual? The rest is adverts. Did you see that?
Yeah. I mean, they are like the top 5 podcasts in the UK. The rest is insert school geography lesson here, whatever.
But they don't talk bad Santa, do they?
No, they don't. You know what's funny as well is I put Good Morning Britain on this morning, and they seem to talk about everything we've already spoken about. So this morning they were talking about the scams of Christmas, which we spoke about for Black Friday. I think Ed Balls et al. Are stealing our ideas, Adam.
Well,
Never
but
mind.
can they execute like we execute, Stuart? That's the question, isn't it?
No, they can't.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Okay. Let's move on to our final bad Santa story. And actually, it's a super serious one. It's from across the pond and is one many of you may be familiar with. It's dubbed the Kovinar Massacre, and it took place on Christmas Eve 2008 in the Californian city of the same name. 45-year-old Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, who is divorced from his wife Sylvia, decided to dress up as Santa Claus and pay a visit to his former in-laws, taking with him a huge rat present to add to the disguise. Having finalised their divorce just a week earlier, Pardo had revenge on his mind. Armed with a handgun, he entered the property and he killed all 9 people inside before then turning the gun on himself. The victims included his ex-wife Sylvia, his mother-in-law, his father-in-law, the brothers-in-law, 2 of them, Charles and James, sisters-in-law, and a nephew. So there were 10 casualties in total, including Pardo himself. My goodness, Stuart, talk about an absolutely devastating and heartbreaking mass murder. And the thing that always gets me about these cases is then he turned the gun on himself afterwards. Can't he just have done that first? Wouldn't that have just saved a lot of the heartbreak and the horror of the story? Did you know this case, Stuart?
I didn't know this one, to be honest, and perhaps some of our listeners in America are more familiar with it. I'm sure it's probably quite well known over there. But like you say, the devastation, the amount of victims, he's frustrated at the divorce. They can always be messy, can't they? We know that. But then to take out the full extended family, I think his nephew Michael was just 17, the youngest victim. So yeah, there was three of her sisters, 2 of her brothers, a mum and dad, and her and a nephew, and then himself. I mean, like you say, it happens all the time. It's just so sad. And again, how many of these happen that so many people out of the country haven't even heard of? Have you heard of it?
No, I hadn't. It's just, and again, to me, it's just innocent lives lost, just people looking to enjoy themselves, live their normal lives. And then you get someone like this come on intent on. I genuinely don't understand it. Do you?
I don't. And I mean, I want to move on to something a bit, more jovial after that. I'm going to be honest, because it's quite a dark one. And despite this being a Christmas-themed episode, people, we can't omit everyone's favourite section, including Adam's, the animal story, the patented end-of-episode animal story of true crime catch-up. So last week, as we record, in Staffordshire, a pair of paragliders made a lucky escape after they were able to avoid landing inside a polar bear enclosure at Peak Wildlife Park, just by a matter of inches.
Wow.
So this enclosure houses 2 male polar bears, and by the sounds of it, the paragliders at first, they didn't realise where they were about to land, because this area outside this park is surrounded by fields. But at the last second, they spotted the 2 giant polar bears called Nanook and Nori, and thankfully managed to land just outside the enclosure. Now, the question for you, Adam, is not, have you had a close encounter with a polar bear before? You sort of look like a polar bear, actually. I was going to ask if you've ever been paragliding before.
No, I've never been paragliding in the same way that I would never go to a travelling fairground.
You've never been to a fair?
I'd never go to a travelling fairground. I don't trust
God, you're so
these.
upper class.
I just don't trust these people. If it's an established fair, I get it. But you go to your local fairground that just turns up and then they undo all the equipment again, do it again. I just don't trust what I've seen paragliding, particularly on holiday, particularly in really dodgy countries. I use that word loosely. Let's say if you go to somewhere like Turkey, what sort of idiot would put their lives in their own hands and go paragliding there? I can't fathom it. Can you, Stuart?
It's funny you say that, because I went paragliding in Turkey, funnily enough.
Oh, did you?
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny? That is funny. By the way, I got my goldfish when I was a young lad from a fair, and it lived for about 15 years. So
15 years?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't well by the end. But that's a different story.
God,
But yeah,
mine
I went
lasted about a
paragliding
week, I think.
I went paragliding in Turkey, thank you very much. Yes,
Have you got a story, Stuart? You got a story about it?
I've got a little story. I'm sure you'd love to hear it.
I'd
So,
love to.
you know, you book excursions on holidays. I mean, you do where people like I go. You book excursions, right?
Yeah.
And one of them was in Turkey, this beautiful part of Turkey. And you could go to the top of this cliff and you'd have an instructor on the back and you'd sort of basically jump off a mountain. Now, it's not like, what's the one where you jump out of a plane? What's that called?
Parachute.
Yeah, that's him. It's not like doing that. It's much more relaxed because as soon as you go off the cliff, the thing is already open. It's not like you're free falling. Your parachute is kind of
canopy. What do you call it?
yeah,
I
your
don't know.
canopy, whatever it's called. Yeah. So the worst part was actually driving up this hill. It was one of these steep, narrow things where there's no barriers and you could just fall off. It was really dodgy. That was more exhilarating than actually being up in the air. But yeah, I ran and jumped off this little hill/mountain. Yeah.
Hold on, that trip up there, was it more exhilarating than a trip in your Corsa around Leeds on a Saturday or not?
Yeah, I mean that's mainly just sat in traffic. So it's not very exhilarating, to be honest.
But did you enjoy the paragliding though?
To be honest, I did for the first sort of minute, but it takes about 15 minutes to get to the ground. And it's really cold up there. And my ears were hurting by the time I got down.
Bless you. I don't know. Bring up trauma, Stuart. Should we bring it to an end? This interesting episode.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there for this festive edition of True Crime Catch Up. As we always say, if you've got any thoughts on anything that we have discussed, or if there's a topic you think we should highlight in a future episode, we'd love to hear from you. You can drop us a comment on YouTube, join our Facebook group to get involved. It's always growing. I think there's maybe 300 odd people in there, which is not bad for a month's worth of work in there.
Yep.
We do have new episodes every single Wednesday, so make sure you're following us on Spotify, get subscribed on YouTube, hit follow wherever you listen so you don't miss an episode. And as I said at the start, if you are enjoying it, please leave us a review, a rating. It really does help us find new listeners, or help them find us, is maybe the right way of saying it. And it doesn't cost you a penny. It costs you nothing.
Always appeals to your shirt, doesn't it?
Does. Always.
Look, thank you, as Stuart said, for listening these last 2 months. We've got plenty more to come, maybe. What do you think, Stuart?
I think so. Yeah, thanks so much for catching up with us. We will see you next on New Year's Eve for another True Crime Catch-Up.
And if the GMB lawyers are out there, we're monitoring you. No more nicking our stuff, eh?
Yeah, Ed Balls.
Cheerio.